Alright guys, so we're doing a tier list today, best Titan exotics for PvP, and the reasoning behind my choices is basically you absolutely need to win. Which exotic are you going to use? And our ranking system is based on that kind of thinking, if that makes any sense. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go through them one at a time in the collections. I'm going to give you a quick run through on what my opinion is on the exotic, and then we're going to switch over to tier maker right here, and we're going to choose which exotic and drag it and put it in place. So we're going to make the tier list as we go along basically. So let's get right into it. Alright, so first, INSURMOUNTABLE SKULLFORT. You all know what it does. You run around the map, you shoulder charge someone, you get your health back, and you have your melee charge back, so you can do it all over again. It's a great exotic if you like to shoulder charge. However, if you're playing against someone who's kind of good at the game and your main strategy is to shoulder charge over and over, you're going to find yourself dying over and over and over. And it is for that reason that I would rate INSURMOUNTABLE SKULLFORT as a B tier exotic. Coming up next, we've got Mask of the Quiet One with Dreaded Visage being the exotic perk. This thing here grants ability energy when you're damaged. That's actually a perk on Arc Strider bottom tree. So they get that built in for free. If you want it on a Titan, you need to put on this exotic. And also it gives you maximum health on kills when critically wounded. I really like the idea behind this perk, but the thing is, maximum health means only your little health bar, which is 100 hit points. Only getting that tiny bit of health back and not regenerating your shields makes it kind of, it's good, but it's not great. And for that reason alone, Mask of the Quiet One will be getting a C ranking on the tier list. Let's stick that right there, and on to the next one. KHEPRI'S horn, eh? I mean, it's about as good as it looks, meaning it's not very good at all. I'm gonna be real with you guys, okay? This is a meme exotic, and when you're talking about you really want to win at all costs, meme exotics don't quite cut it, in my opinion. So if you guys don't know what it does, basically when you put up your barricade, it emits a little solar pulse, and some guys can be like, hey man, well KHEPRI'S is kind of good. Look dude, I'm saying when you really need to win though, when you really need to win, are you going to be thinking in your head, I know, I'm going to put on KHEPRI'S horn? I don't think so, man. I don't think so. And it is for that reason KHEPRI'S horn gets the undignified position of D ranked exotic, which is the lowest ranking I give in this tier list. Unfortunate. Good old HELM of Saint 14. Good old HELM. Gotta say, man, one of my favorite exotics. It's a classic, and obviously it's the legendary Titan Saint 14's helmet, and it is a really awesome exotic. Starless Knight, essentially what it does, it blinds people, and also it gives you an overshield for you and your teammates when you step outside the bubble. Going back to my reasoning for this tier list, I do want to remind you guys, we are talking about I need to win at all costs. Kind of like, say you're in a situation where you're flying into a game and you had to pick one exotic to use in that match. Sure, you could switch to HELM of Saint 14 when you get your super, but if you had to run one exotic for a full game and you couldn't switch, what would you use? It wouldn't be HELM of Saint 14. The reason why, it only helps you when you have your super, and for that reason it does not get a particularly high ranking on my tier list. It's a good exotic, but it is not great, unfortunately, because it doesn't do anything for the neutral game, and Titans are solely lacking in neutral game. This is a tough one. Kinda hurts to do this, but we are giving HELM of Saint 14 a C ranking. Forgive me, Saint, but I'm just telling it how it is. Coming up next, we've got Eternal Warrior. Oh boy. One of the dumbest looking exotics in the history of the game. And it is an exotic for dum-dums, okay? No offense. If you guys don't know the exotic perk, Resolute. Gain an overshield when activating Fist of Havoc. And again, it's very similar to HELM of Saint 14. What it does is great. An overshield for Fist of Havoc is fucking amazing. And if you've played Trials, you've played against a Titan who switches to this when he gets his super and it's 4-4. I get it. It's scummy, but I get it. And it's for that reason, the same as Saint 14, it only gets a C rank because it only helps you when you're in your super. So if you had to pick one exotic to run in a winner takes all game, would it be Eternal Warrior? It would not. Oh boy, here we go. The old infamous, perhaps the most notorious exotic in the history of Destiny 2. I think this exotic could lay claim to that title. But if you guys don't know what it now does, Vengeance highlights the enemy who dares to damage you. So if someone shoots you, previously you would have wall hacks and a marker following them. Now they will simply be highlighted red. So you know that guy shot you and that's why he's highlighted red. And if you kill that guy, you get an overshield, the same overshield it used to have. It's a very powerful overshield. That's a lot of hit points. And if you're a player who can, easily win a 1v1, you're going to be racking up overshields non-stop, and it's incredibly clutch in something like Trials. A Titan with One-Eyed Mask can pull off a 1v3 a lot easier than most other players in the game, simply because of the way the exotic perk works. And it is for that reason that One-Eyed Mask most certainly gets an S ranking for me. It is absolutely one of the very best exotics you could use on a Titan in PvP. Coming up next, we've got ACDO Feedback Fence. Now, these ones, they're not amazing, but they're not bad either by any means. But basically, the way they work, the more melees you take from someone, the more damage you will give out when you finally do return a punch, which is really kind of interesting. However, I think in the current meta, you can't really afford to be tanking a melee from someone without expecting a shotgun, to follow up. I feel like the feedback fences were a lot stronger back in the double primary meta, where meleeing was a much more longer and drawn out exchange. Whereas now, someone's just going to shotgun melee you, and even if you have feedback fence, if you're not shotgun meleeing him back, you're going to die. And for that reason, it gets a C rating on the tier list. For me, it's good, but again, it's not great, not by any means. FANG Pauldron. Now, this is an interesting one. I am a real fan of the aesthetic of what this exotic does. I feel like it's more, strongly suited to PvE. However, I do have to say, some people could be taken by surprise by how effective they can be in PvP. Void melee kills give you a big chunk of super energy. So if you were to spec into strength and intellect, you could be getting a lot of supers per game. And with the way the exotic perk works, it has great synergy with Bottom Tree Sentinel in particular. Now, I will say this, for me, in my opinion, this one is good, but again, guys, Doomfangs are just not that great. First of all, to be totally honest with you, if you're going into a game and you need to win, most players are not going to be on Bottom Tree Sentinel. You're going to be on top or middle. And for that reason alone, it gets a C rating. I wonder if, it's just going to be C ranks the whole way. I promise you guys it won't be. There's going to be some variation, but we are just going through as we see them. Oh, and here we go. We've got big old Synthos. Oof, you cannot really mess with these, man. You cannot really mess with these. And you know what? I did a tier list yesterday on Twitter. And, it's been a day since then. I've had a lot of time to go over my thoughts, and I have made a couple of changes. First of all, there's no E tier anymore in the tier list. It's just D. And I rated Synthos a certain way yesterday, and I've actually come to the opinion that I was probably wrong, and we're going to give them a different rating. But before I tell you what my rating is, we'll quickly go over what the perk does. Biotic enhancements, increase melee lunge range, improve melee and super damage when you're surrounded. So this exotic has crazy synergy with a bunch of different classes on the Titan class. And if you're a shotgun melee warlord, you could go top tree sentinel, get an overshield every time you fucking melee someone, get increased damage and one-hit melee people with overshield, with middle tree sentinel, middle tree striker, with their ballistic slime if they're grouped up, you can kill the whole team. It's kind of crazy. And for that reason, SYNTHOCEPS most certainly get an S tier ranking from me. So they join One-Eyed Mask as one of the absolute top tier choices that you have on offer. AEON safe. Look, guys, you know what, man? I'm not even going to say anything. All right, AEON safe. If there was ever a reason to have an E tier, it was really for you. But you're going to be back in the little dum-dum corner with KHEPRI'S horn. And I'm sorry for the KHEPRI horn lovers out there, but listen, I ain't using either of these when I need to win a game. I ain't using either of these ever. So, ASHEN Wake. Now, these are really, really good. They are kind of under the radar if you don't know what they do. They essentially turn your little fusion grenades into little hot pockets. You throw them at people and they explode in their face. And you can make some really, really interesting and powerful builds on middle tree Hammer Titan, particularly when running this exotic, although they're good on all Hammer Titan trees. And you can't really look down on them. However, they are mainly only going to really shine in 6v6. So it's certainly not an S tier exotic. And is it an A tier exotic? I don't know, guys, but we're talking, absolute best to worst here. We're not talking, oh, this is a fun build, or this is a cool, unique exotic. A tier, B tier. We are gonna go B tier. WORMGOD CREST, honestly, very similar to ASHEN Wake. It has some really, really unique and awesome playmaking potential with middle tree Hammer Titan. If you chain Burning Fists with the throwing hammer and you get a couple of kills, you're going to be going around one-hitting people with your little hammer. And it's hilarious, it's awesome, it's cool. but it's a meme loadout, and it's something that good players will not really allow you to pop off using this setup. Someone will take you out with a shotgun, or someone will snipe you. You know, the throwing hammer thing, it's funny, but it's not something you're going to use when the chips are on the table, you know what I'm saying? So for that reason, it's going to be going right alongside Ashen Wake in B tier. It's not C tier because it is strong. When you use it correctly, it is strong. Up next, we've got URSA FURIOSA. Now, I've kind of already made the similar point on Helm of Saint 14 and Eternal Warrior, and URSA FURIOSA kind of sits alongside those. Again, people are going to say it's really, really strong, and it is. It gives you a bunch of super energy back after blocking with Sentinel Shield. Not like it used to back in the day where it gave you your whole super back. Gives you a decent chunk though. And if you were to switch to URSA FURIOSA when you get your super, you could be a pretty cheeky, scummy mother effer. There's no doubt about it. But the point I'm making, again with my tier list, you got to put on one exotic. It's not going to be URSA FURIOSA, is it? Because an exotic that only helps you when your super's active is not enough for a Titan that needs more lethality in its neutral game. And it's for that reason it joins a host of other exotics in the C tier. Strongholds. Now, I've got a bit of a soft spot for strongholds, you know? Again, it's kind of similar to URSA FURIOSA. It's an exotic that only works when you have heavy ammo, and for that reason, it's not good enough in PvP, point blank, plain and simple. Because how often in a game are you going to have a sword equipped? Not very often. So that's exactly why whenever you see me using strongholds, I only switch to them once I get heavy ammo, and that by default makes it not a great exotic. However, it does what it does well. It allows you to make better use of swords, which are really not great in this game, and strongholds kind of help them a little bit. And for that reason, I can't knock them. I've had some really funny plays with them. So I'm going to give strongholds a C rating because they're decent, you know, they serve their purpose. However, their purpose is a very, very unique and situational one. Okay, coming up next, we've got CITAN Ramparts, and these actually do have something wrong with them at the moment. They're slightly bugged. Certain weapons do not interact properly with the CITAN Ramparts. However, I think the main use for CITAN Ramparts is to pair them with a sniper rifle, and as far as I'm aware, there are no issues when you pair this with a sniper, like for example Revoker. So if you guys don't know what Assault Barricade does, it allows you to shoot through your Titan barricade at the cost of reduced health and duration. However, mind you, the shield comes up pretty often, and if you're a good sniper and you're a Titan main, well, this is a really, really high level exotic, because being able to shoot through a barricade is, it's self-explanatory why this is so incredibly powerful. And for that reason, you've really got to respect this exotic and what it can do. Even though it does have a slight issue with a bug, I would have to give this a solid A ranking on my tier list. Coming up next, we've got CREST of Alpha LUPI, and you know what? This is a bit of a classic exotic. If any of you followed me back in the Destiny 1 days, when I would do Trials Help, and I'd be picking up someone who is really, really inexperienced in PvP, and they wanted to go flawless, I'd tell them, go on a Defender Titan and put on CREST of Alpha LUPI, because you make an extra orb when you drop your super. Not only that, it heals you when you put a wall up, and I am actually going to give CREST of Alpha LUPI a B rating. It is not that bad. I was going to give it a C initially, but looking over it, I'd give it a solid B. Coming up next, we've got ACTIUM War Rig. Now, this thing essentially steadily reloads a portion of your auto rifle's reserves. So it's basically always feeding in ammo to your gun. When you pair this up with something like Sweet Business, hilarity ensues because you basically never run out of ammo. You never have to reload. And with auto rifles being so strong at the moment in the game, I would have to give ACTIUM War Rig a pretty solid rating on the tier list in PvP. If you're going to load into a PvP game and you're going to use an exotic that buffs an auto rifle, well, that can't really be looked down upon at all. So for that reason, I would have to give it a B rating, 100%. All right, HALLOWFIRE Heart. Now, I'm going to come out here and say this. I'm not a Hammer Titan. I very rarely play Hammer Titan, so I don't want to talk shit, you know? I don't really know the ins and outs of, how good this exotic really is. If you look at the perk, however, it improves the recharge rate of your solar abilities. That's, you can't sniff at that. Greatly improves recharge rate while your super is charged. Kind of makes it look like it's a PvE based exotic. So for that reason, it's not going to rate particularly high. I would have to give this an average rating. I do think it's a PvE oriented exotic, so we're going to stick it right there in the C ranking position. Coming next, we got the old classic Armamentarium. It does real simple things, man. It gives you an extra grenade charge. And I think in particular on Sentinel Titan, having double suppressors is very, very strong. Double lightning grenades was very strong in Destiny 1. But in this game, striker grenades they're okay at best. Pulse grenades are decent. You can get 2 grenades for free on top 3 striker if you want to do that anyway. So for me, they're not a top tier exotic, but they are very, very solid. They get the job done, and I think particularly double suppressor is a pretty damn strong setup. So for that reason, you're going to have to give Armamentarium an A ranking. Next up, we've got Heart of Inmost Light. Overflowing Light is a really, really cool perk. Using an ability, whether it's a grenade, melee, or barricade, empowers the other 2 abilities. Empowered means abilities have faster regen, melees and grenades do more damage, and barricades have more hit points. This is really, really solid, but I kind of have to go back to the neutral game of Titans. I don't see too many situations where you're going to want to use this exotic over a certain few other ones, like One-Eyed Mask, for example, or Synthoceps that give you so much more extra melee damage and lethality. Heart of Inmost Light, it feels like if Titan neutral game was stronger overall, then this thing would be elevated to another level. It would probably be S tier, but as it currently stands, it's good. It is really good, but for that, you know, I never see anyone use it. Like, I play a lot of this game, right? I play a lot of trials, I played a lot of comp, and I come across players using what they deem the absolute best loadouts in the game. Granted, certain things do go under the radar, and maybe that's the case for Heart of Inmost Light. Maybe it is a top tier exotic that people just don't value enough. I don't know, I'm even thinking maybe I'm going to use this a little bit and see for myself, because I never run it. I think I know what the best setups are for Titan in this game, and this one, I don't know, I feel like maybe I'm underestimating it, maybe I'm overestimating it and I'm getting too deep into this and it's actually not that great. For me, I'm going to stick it here just because, actually, if I'm giving Armamentarium an A rating, I think I've got to give this one an A rating too. Unless I give them both B ratings if I'm being completely brutal about it. No, we'll give them both an A rank, just because they are very good. Armamentarium giving you 2 grenades is very strong, particularly that Sentinel setup. But then, I don't know, guys. I don't know. I'm kind of conflicted. I don't know, boys. Don't know. Nope, we're gonna leave them both there. Fuck it. Okay, Severance Enclosure. Again, kind of like AEON Soul and Co. I'm not even... Listen. Join the dunces, man. Join the dunces at the bottom. So we've got Lion Rampant. Now, I'm not a fan of these. People are going to be offended. They'll be like, well, but Lion Rampant is amazing. Is it though? Like, are you really trying to float in the air and hip fire a gun against a good player who can hit his shots? Are you? I mean, will that work out for you? Look, I get it. It's fun to goof around and be a helicopter and quick play. I get it, dudes. Trust me, I have a lot of respect for Lion Rampants. But top tier, it most certainly is not. It's just disappointing for me. I kind of feel like maybe I have a grudge against Lion Rampants because I know they could be so much better if Titans had better movement. I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too harsh. Maybe I should give it a B. Maybe I should give it a B rating because it does improve your movement. But it just doesn't give skating, man. It doesn't give skating at all. And that really bugs me. It really does. It bugs me, boys. It absolutely bugs me. Staying at C. It's a C ranking exotic. I'm sorry. Okay, next we got Peacekeepers. I think these are a great exotic. Even though SMGs are not meta by any stretch of the imagination, putting these exotics on and pairing it with something like ACTIUM or Taraba even Huckleberry, trust me, now this is one that will take players by surprise. Pairing Peacekeepers with bottom 3 striker is arguably one of the most lethal Titan loadouts in the game. You might think I'm crazy, but I'm really not. If you were to pair this with a sniper, like a player who could snipe well, and use Peacekeepers and ACTIUM, oof, you would be farming. Really, really good exotic. It buffs SMGs in so many ways. It even increases your field of view when you have an SMG equipped. This exotic is really, really underlooked. And for that reason, even though you might think, well, you've said the same thing about other exotics and given them lower rankings, nah, trust me, these are a B rank exotic. They're too good to overlook. They really are. Here we go, boys. The Lamborghini exotic, man. You know, it turns your Titan from a Ford Fiesta into a Lamborghini. Not quite, I wish, but it really does make all the difference, man. DUNEMARCHERS are absolutely fantastic, mainly And this is going to surprise you. I know how ridiculous the melee charge is now. It is basically broken. You can melee someone and 20 meters away somebody else will get zapped and they'll all die. And it's hilarious and it's awesome and I love them. And it's really, really powerful right now. But like I said before, the main thing is they increase your sprint speed and they give you increased slide distance, which is huge. Titans have awful mobility, and unlike Lion Ramparts, these actually make a significant difference, especially when it comes to PvP movement. Lion Ramparts might help you platform around and patrol, but in fact, as far as PvP goes, where speed and dexterity basically rule everything, DUNEMARCHERS are essential. And with that crazy 20 meter static charge on the melee, there's absolutely no doubt that DUNEMARCHERS are S tier for Titans, 100% S tier, no doubt about it. MK44 standard sides, these are a goofy exotic because they basically only work for shoulder charge. And here's the thing, it's going to get a low rating because if I'm being completely honest, the shoulder charge trees on all 3 Titan classes are not good in PvP. They're mainly based for PvE. Shoulder charging again is not a good tactic against a strong player. If you try and shoulder charge me all game, I'm going to shotgun you 9 times out of 10. You wouldn't have a great time. And the overshield on MK44 standard sides, it wouldn't let you live either. It's a really, really low tier exotic in my opinion, and we're going to have to give it a D rating. They're terrible, guys. They are terrible. I'm sorry. Now, KANTAEUS wards, oof, they were the bane of everyone's existence only a season ago, but in classic Bungie fashion, they got nerfed into near uselessness. They are absolutely awful now, and if you are using them, you are really throwing. Trust me, they are terrible. Take them off. Basically, before you would slide and it would bring up a shield every second slide, right? That shield was buffed in Season 10 to block absolutely everything. I don't know why they made that change. They were really good before Season 10, but in Season 10 they were buffed to be overpowered like crazy. So in response to Bungie's own crazy buff, they removed the super energy that you would gain on blocking, and they also put a timer on the shield. So you have to be sprinting for about a second or two and then slide, and then you will get a shield. And that basically renders this exotic really, really average and mediocre in my opinion. And for that reason, KANTAEUS wards, they're just not what they used to be. They are slap bang average. Now, Peregrine Greaves. Now, oof, I've got a lot to say about Peregrine Greaves. These were like my #1 enemy in Destiny 1. Why? Because shoulder charging whilst in the air will take you out of a bubble. And I used to hate it when that would happen to me. I used to have a lot of battles with Striker Titans. I'd have to like slide out of my bubble as they shoulder charge in. Otherwise I was dead. So it was a real, you know, a nemesis and a rival for me, this exotic. In Destiny 2, not quite the case. One big difference between shoulder charge in Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 is that in Destiny 1 there was no cooldown applied to your shoulder charge. It was just built into your class for you to select it. So you basically had shoulder charge active at all times, which made this exotic incredibly powerful, right? In Destiny 2, shoulder charge is on a cooldown, but not only that, like I previously mentioned with another exotic, all of the shoulder charge trees in PvP are weak compared to the other ones. They are basically designed mainly for PvE with the shoulder charges, and that in itself really weakens Peregrine Greaves, and it stops it from being an S tier exotic, which it probably would have been in Destiny 1 if I was doing this video in Destiny 1. But I think also, like I said, the PvE subclasses limit this thing to being a B tier exotic in my opinion. They are just not that good. If you're a really good player, you're not going to be wanting to choose one of the shoulder charge classes in PvP, point blank. And last but not least, I guess, if you like fire and explosions, we've got Phoenix Cradle, Beacons of Empowerment. Sun Warrior lasts twice as long. Allies who pass through your sunspots are granted Sun Warrior. Now, this one is not to be overlooked. If you're a really good Hammer Titan main, you could make great use out of this exotic. It does a lot for the neutral game, and neutral game is important. They're not to be looked down upon whatsoever. So I would have to give Phoenix Cradle a B rating. And there it is, guys. There is my completed tier list. I want to know what you guys think. If you disagree or agree, you can see right here we've got standard sides, Severance, AEON Soul, and KHEPRI'S Horn as the weakest. Maybe some of you will be offended by this. I don't know. You know, I'm just giving you guys my opinion. And you can see here in C tier there are a lot of exotics. C and B tier there are quite a lot. And then we've got a handful of absolute top tier exotics. These three in particular would be the 3 that stand out above all else. These ones, I don't know, part of me, I said it earlier, but part of me wouldn't be adverse to like making it like this, honestly, or even like that, you know, because I think the real point is when it comes to PvP, competitive, very strong choices in PvP are kind of limited. You got some unique memey ones like these. You got a really good support based one, which would honestly arguably go up there, but it's support based. These 2 are really good, but they, you know, they buff your weapon of choice, SMG or auto rifle. But is it really enough? Titans are really lacking in neutral game. Is it really enough, you know? Maybe we'll be generous and just give Citan Rampart some company. But I do think that Titans need a new, impactful, unique, and cool exotic for PvP. We're kind of lacking. This is what we've got for now, in my opinion. Again, tier list is very subjective. It's just my opinion. You know, I don't know everything. I play a lot of Titan. You know, that's all there is to it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.